1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to What Makes This Bike Great, and today it's all about the KTM 990 SMT. Now this is a very special machine, not least because it started off a new genre of motorcycling in earnest. The tall sports bike, the performance bike that's comfortable, that's got 17-inch wheels that you can put sticky tyres on, spacious riding positions. Now really this got here first in 2009, and it was followed shortly by the BMW S1000 XR and the Ducati Multistrada, the kind of newer generation one with the superbike engine. You could say that comfortable sports bikes in this kind of tall roundery shape were around a long time before this bike. You know, most namely the Yamaha TDM850, the Benelli TreK of all things, the original Multistrada. But it was this KTM that really captured the imagination and sent this kind of style of bike really into the mainstream. And it was at a time when the sales of sports bikes was starting to wane and people wanted that performance, but they didn't want to have to pay for it with cramped riding positions, sore wrists, sore backs, sore knees. This was the best of all worlds. Owners of the 990 SMT really loved them, and so did the press. This used to win loads of group tests. We did a test of this really to prove that it was the ultimate all-rounder at MCN. We pitched it against the Honda VFR 800, GSXR 750, an R1200 GS. We took them around Brands Hatch, we went on a tour on them all, we went on the country lanes, and pound for pound in terms of pure riding enjoyment, from scratching around Druids to piling down the A1, the KTM was by far the best. And it wasn't that slow either. I remember at Brands Hatch we had all those bikes on control tyres, and this would do a 54 second lap around the Indy circuit, so very, very capable. The SMT came out when KTM were on a bit of a roll. They were starting to produce big capacity sports bikes that created this excitement around the brand that traditionally only been known really for producing off-road bikes, motocrossers, enduros, that kind of thing. And that makes what's going on at KTM now such a shame. I was lucky enough to ride one of the first big capacity KTMs. I did the 950 Adventure launch. I think it was down in Marbella in 2003. And then they went from strength to strength, producing the Super Duke, which was just an absolutely amazing super naked, or street fighter, whatever you'd want to call it, really exciting. And KTM evolved, they became better and better. You've got Jerry McWilliams as one of their test riders, and no one can deny that they're fun bikes, they're handled beautifully, and even, you know, in racing, they win everything they go after, you know, whether it's off-road stuff or up through the ranks of Moto 3, Moto 2, and who would have ever thought that KTM would win MotoGP races? I was even lucky enough to ride the KTM Supermoto, which this is based on, and I rode it from the factory before it came out, a couple of years before it came out, and it was basically a 950 Adventure that they'd supermotoed, and we left the factory, we did a photo shoot. I managed to drop it twice on some wet grass while we were doing a photo shoot when we were moving the bike around, and then I managed to lose the front on a downhill kind of mountain section in the wet, and luckily managed to slide through the legs of some Armco barriers. Didn't hurt myself, and it was a prototype mule. You couldn't really even see that it was crashed. But I remember doing the ride of shame back to the factory, where the staff in the factory, through gritted teeth, asked me if I was okay before looking at the bike. But yeah, it was definitely a baptism of fire with this bike. So talking of that Supermoto, the SMR, this is based on that bike. So whereas a lot of tall rounders or super nakeds are based on super bikes, this started life as a supermoto, and you can kind of feel that in its genes. It's a very exciting bike, and it's barely watered down at all. Compared to the supermoto, the SMT had shorter travel suspension, a comfier seat and a screen, and these early bikes had no electronics, not even ABS, which was introduced later in 2011. So based on the supermoto, it's no surprise that the SMT is so bonkers. It's born to skid, it's born to wheelie, it's born to do endos and just muck about. And like we said before, it's pretty handy around the track too. By today's standards, it's not the most powerful tool-rounder out there, but it is one of the most characterful. Its engine, V-twin engine, no parallel twins here. That engine makes 114 bhp. It has fully adjustable WP suspension, and its Brembos have the power to put most modern braking systems to shame because they weren't gummed up with electronics, ABS modules, miles of hoses and an electronic brain. Perhaps one of the best things about the SMT is just how comfortable it is. I mean, this is as comfortable as any modern bike, if not more so. The bars are just in a beautiful position, not too far away, not too close, they're nice and wide. You've got your weight spread quite evenly across the bike, so there's a little bit of weight on my hands, a bit on my bum, a bit on my feet, and there's no aches or pains when you ride this a long way. The seat's nice and comfy, it's nice and plush, it's roomy, you can fit someone on the back quite comfortably. The pegs are nice and low so they don't squash your legs, but there's still lots of ground clearance. I mean, this is a bike that you can just keep on going. Also, as you can see, it's got quite a old-fashioned dash, analog rev counter, digital display. There's no cruise control, there's no auto blipper or quick shifter, no traction control, no wheelie control. Good. This one's got ABS actually, and the owner's fitted heated grips. I suppose the only thing I'd miss on a long journey is cruise control. It's not the end of the world. We managed pretty well without it, didn't we, back in the day? And yeah, I don't miss any of the, I don't miss a TFT, I don't miss all the information that you get on modern dashes. You just need your speed, do the gear position indicator I suppose, but you've got everything you need. You've got a trip, you've got a temperature gauge. There's not a lot there, but it's just brilliant. You know, just who needs all that fluff when you've just got a fantastic bike. The other thing is, this bike's done 30,000 miles, which is quite a lot, and the owner's had zero problems with it. A lot of these early KTMs obviously aren't loaded with electronics, so there's nothing to go wrong there. You know, you do get Friday afternoon bikes, which is not strictly true. KTM don't open their factory on Friday afternoons. They finish early and go after lunchtime, but you know what I mean. You do get problems, but this has been very reliable. You know, bikes of this age that aren't too complicated can be serviced by a competent motorcycle mechanic. There's not too much to go wrong on them. So, you know, if you were gonna take the plunge and get one, which obviously you're gonna be buying second hand with a fair few miles, it's not going to be the end of the world. The other great thing about this bike, I mean, there's lots of comfortable bikes out there, aren't there, but it's its performance. It's as feisty as a supermoto, but it's just got that little bit of refinement that makes it easier to live with and not as highly strung. So it doesn't make the most power in the world, you know, especially when you look at modern day tool rounders and adventure bikes that have got superbike power, which frankly is ridiculous. This hasn't even got the power of a Yamaha Tracer, but it's very light. It's 198 kilos, and that means it hasn't got a lot of stodge to push along, so it's very responsive when you open the throttle. That big V-twin engine has got a lot of grunt, a lot of character, so much more character than a parallel twin, and lovely deep exhaust note. Great engine for touring, great engine for having fun on. And the handling, the owners put Metzeler M9 RR Sportsex on this bike, so modern tyres has just made it feel absolutely superb in the corners. Very crisp, The steering's very light, you've got a lot of agility, which is helped by the fact you've got a lot of leverage through these wide bars. Lovely suspension control. The owner's got a heavier spring on this particular bike from Maxton, just to suit his weight, because standard suspension doesn't suit everybody. And brakes are superb. There's no stodge from any electronics kind of tugging away at you. It's very light, feels light. These I'm in Kent at the moment, and I'm near a place called Stourmouth, which isn't a million miles away from Ramsgate, where I'm from. And this stretch of road is we used to call the Wingham Bends. It's where I spend my misspent youth riding motorcycles. But on this road here, the KTM just is delightful. There's no way even a modern bike would feel any better than this right now. A modern bike's just got too much power, too many electronics. You know, where do manufacturers go from something like this? When you built an SMT 990, which is just, you know, GSXR 750 like in its balance of handling and power, where'd you go with it? Well, KTM just made the engines bigger, they just made them more powerful, they gave them more electronics, and all of that looks great on paper, but do you need any of that? Do you need all that technology? Not really. Just great, just a symphony of V-twin mechanical mayhem. Fantastic. Oh god, I love this bike. So the KTM 990 SMT was one of the best all-rounders money could buy. and it still is now. It's pure and simple and devoid of the mechanical and electronic clutter we have now on bikes like these, which you also have to pay through the nose for. If you check the classifieds, you'll find a few SMTs for sale. They're becoming more and more rare. You'll get a half decent one with sensible miles for around about £5,000. You can pay about £1,000 less for higher mileage ones. And you know, you can get some real premium, newer, low mileage ones for around £8,000, but they're few and far between. And if you want a great all-rounder, get one of these and you will not regret it. So everything from its price to its comfort, to its practicalities, to its fun, and everything in between is what makes the KTM 990 SMT great. Thanks very much for watching, and just before I sign off, a big thank you to Paul Baker from PJB Technical Services for letting me loose on his pride and joy.